Hey guys, Prowl one's... well... Hey guys, Prowl1701 here with a Patreon request. One of my top exclusive tiers, actually. My top exclusive tier that only has 2 places, both of which have been filled. One of my members of that, Paul Gibbons, has requested that I do a review for Death to the Daleks, which is certainly great for me because anyone who's watched the channel for a while knows I am a big fan of Death to the Daleks. I think it's an underrated story. I tend to like 2 of the 3 Pertwee stories a lot with Day of the Daleks and Death to the Daleks. Not a big fan of Planet of the Daleks, but it's still Planet of the Daleks, but it still has stuff I like. But I really enjoy Death to the Daleks. I think one of my favorite parts is when the Doctor sees Sarah about to get sacrificed. And the fact he doesn't even hesitate, he just goes into full James Bond attack mode. And the 2 that's standing next to him, he just, "Hey!" and then runs off. He knocks them over and then runs and flying tackles the group. Just the whole group, he just jumps, pile dives on. I absolutely love that. Especially considering... if you're going just by TV episodes, he doesn't really know Sarah that well yet. He just kind of met her. I think this is, what, the 3rd story of the season? And he just flying tackles all of these people to get them to leave her alone and, of course, not sacrifice her. Now, I do hate the fact this is yet another case where Sarah especially gets drugged, hypnotized, possessed. That happens to Sarah a little too much, where she gets kind of drugged, almost sacrificed. And that's a little tedious that happens to her character as much as it does. But this was the first time it happened, so I'm willing to let it slide a little bit. But I do like the rapport between the Doctor and Sarah, even this early in their run together. And the fact we don't really get a lot of stories with the 3rd Doctor and Sarah, so I do like that we get them together here. Because I do think John and Liz had good chemistry, just like Tom and Liz have good chemistry. I'm not as big into the Dalek voices in this one. I love Michael Wisher's Davros. I'm not as big as him voicing the Daleks. Sometimes they're a little too frantic. Like when the ships first land and they try to kill all the humans. Get them, fire, 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 everybody fire, get them fire. I'm like, whoa, have a Valium. Calm down a bit. Not my favorite Dalek voices. I like the human actors, the kind of people from the spaceship. You have one of the younger guys who gets killed far earlier than I like. I liked him. The guy playing the dying captain, what little bit we get with him is good. And of course, I really like the kind of older man that really shouldn't be left in charge, that ends up being left in charge, though. I'm sorry, Captain. I didn't quite get that. I like that guy. The actor playing him is good. And then I also like the character and the arc he has, especially with him doing the right thing at the end, destroying the Dalek ship. It's nice when you see these kind of flawed characters that aren't necessarily... they're not bad people, but they're not the most moral people. But at the end, they do come around and do the right thing. I did enjoy that. And I'm amused by the fact that as soon as the Daleks figure out their guns aren't working, they're a little confused. And the humans are like, we need to form an alliance. And the Daleks are just like, yeah, we need to form an alliance. That's what we'll do. You can trust us. And the humans believe it. Of course, the Doctor's like, oh dear. We're going to try to kill you. Our guns don't work. Yeah, alliance. We're all for alliance. I don't know why that amuses me, but it does. And of course, the Daleks turning on the humans later when they get their secondary weapons. It's like when the audience knows more than the guest cast. I love their weapons, by the way. The little machine gun projectile weapons they have, I love those. I just do. I love those. I'd love to see that come back in Doctor Who. I love those. And it shows the Daleks' ingenuity, a bit of their genius, that they do come up with this alternate means of fire rather quickly. And I will never get over the fact that they test the new means of fire on a little miniature TARDIS. They shoot a little miniature TARDIS. Where did they get that miniature TARDIS? Did they build it just for that? Because you figured the Daleks wouldn't care. They just have something to test it on. Boom, boom, boom. It works. But somehow they built a little miniature TARDIS. It's so out of character for the Daleks, but it's so adorable when you look at it. Now, anyone who's ever heard me talk about Death to the Daleks, you know my fan theory on this. You all heard me talk about Frank the Dalek. In case you're new, Frank the Dalek, in my headcanon, is the person who built that little TARDIS. Frank the Dalek is secretly a Doctor fanboy. Frank loves the Doctor. He's a huge fan of the Doctor. He knows he's not supposed to be, but he is. He's like somebody that lives in Dallas and is actually a fan of the Washington Commanders, even though he should be a fan of the Cowboys. He loves the Doctor. He's probably got the Doctor posters all over his room, and he has a little miniature TARDIS, and he tries to keep it a secret so none of the other Daleks know, but the problem is, like, all of the other Daleks know. All the Daleks know. They're always like, God, Frank! But Frank's like the nephew of the Supreme Dalek. It's like the Supreme Dalek's sister Dalek's son. And the Supreme Dalek has to kind of tolerate him because he doesn't want to hit it from his sister Dalek. So he doesn't want anything bad to happen. Normally, of course, if a Dalek was defective like this, they'd exterminate him immediately. Supreme Dalek does not want to hear that from his sister. So it's like they tolerate Frank even though he annoys them. And for some reason, I guess Frank's not there. Maybe he's having a meeting with his uncle or something. Maybe his uncle has sent him to like some kind of rehabilitation thing. Like, you don't want the Doctor. The Doctor is bad. Or something, who knows? And Frank's room is still there, and all of the other Daleks, just because they're Daleks, be like, you know what? We need to test these guns. You know, let's test this on one of Frank's little miniature TARDISes. If Frank comes back and it's like, what happened to our miniature TARDIS? We'll just be like, oh. That's my fan theory. I absolutely love Frank. We have two of those now. We have Frank the Dalek and Stan the Dalek. Or was it Steve the Dalek? Was it Stan or Steve I had? It's either Stan the Dalek or Steve the Dalek for Evil of the Daleks. I forget. But I mean, the story, to me, does have some problems. The stuff going on in the city doesn't really do much for me. Of course, you have that cliffhanger that's not very good with the floor. But just the stuff going on in the city, you kind of lose me there. And it's not bad. It just kind of drags it out a little for me. Now, I do like the character of, was it Bilal or whatever his name is, the kind of alien guy. It's not the most impressive costume in the world, but it's not the worst. My hat's off to the actor playing him. I know he just passed away recently. He was 104. That's props right there. 104. Hey, that's impressive. I'm sure that was a life well lived. But my hat's off to him. He did play the character well. And I do like the Doctor's last line at the end of, was it now there's only 699 wonders left or 799 wonders left? I did like that. That's a great way to end the episode with that. And it was a cool effect of how the city was like melting. And then I even did enjoy how you think someone's watching the Doctor just to when they get there, it's actually someone that's been dead a long time. The body just kind of, it's pretty cool. The bit when the one Dalek dies just because he lost his prisoners is a little... but okay. And this is a story that reminds you how easy the Daleks were to kill in Classic Who sometimes. Let's hit them with a stick or something a few times. Evil of the Daleks had that. Sometimes the Daleks died a little too easily in Classic Who. I much prefer in Modern Who where they're like mobile tanks. But Classic Who, sometimes they could be beaten laughably easily. But I do love the Dalek design, the Dalek colors, the black with the silver. I actually really like some of the Dalek colors in this. It's still overall, even though it has its flaws, it's a really fun story. And I tend to like Season 11 anyway. I think Sarah tends to be written pretty well in a lot of Season 11. I do like 3 with Sarah a lot. And I think it's nice filming there in the quarry. And I enjoyed this one. It's a lot of fun. It's underrated in my opinion. If I was ranking the Pertwee Dalek stories, Day would be the best, Death to the Daleks would be in the middle and underrated, and then Planet of the Daleks would just be okay. Okay is about the most I can give Planet. It's one of my least favorite Pertwee stories. But yeah, I really like Death to the Daleks. So I certainly appreciate Paul requesting this video. It was a lot of fun. If you would like to have video requests that you get to select, that is something available at different tier levels on the Patreon. Check that out. I have several different tiers that are available. I do want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons: Paul Gibbons, Finn Perkins, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It does mean a lot. It's very much appreciated to each and every one of my patrons and my YouTube members. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is down there. I love getting fan mail. It makes my day. Be it DVDs. I'd love to get some new Doctor Who shirts if anybody wants to send some. I'm doing this like I'm wearing a Doctor Who shirt. And don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. That certainly helps me out. If you watch the channel a lot and you're not subscribed yet, why not click the subscribe button? It's free, and it does do me a nice solid. I love watching the channel grow, and I certainly appreciate it. Most importantly, thank you for watching.